Are Vancouver home prices falling? This is a question I get asked quite frequently, and today we are going to touch on that. But before I do so, I am Dave Mason with the Dave Mason Real Estate Group and Angle Invokers, and I make educational videos on the Vancouver real estate market. If you enjoy the content that I put out or you enjoy this video, do me a big favor. Subscribe, like the video, share the video. It helps me get out in front of more people just like yourself. So we will not waste any time. I get asked this a lot. Are Vancouver home prices falling? Today we will touch on that. And I'm going to start off with the current state of the Vancouver real estate market. Now, in regards to year over year, we are much busier. Sales last month, which was June, because we're at the end of July right now, we're up 21% in comparison to June of 2022. Now, you might think to yourself, well, that was one of the slowest summers, and you're not wrong. We were very slow across the board. It didn't matter if you were the Vancouver real estate market or the Fraser Valley real estate market. Last summer was dreadfully slow. Thank you to the interest rate hikes that we are all aware of. So we're not going to touch on that too much, but that was what caused that. Had some buyer reluctance, so we were slow. Now, we fast forward into this year, and right now in July and carrying off the month of June where sales were up 21%, I would have to say that the market is quite active. Now, that is sub-area dependent. Not every area in Vancouver is actively busy, but some are busier than others, and for the most part, it is active. And that is because, well, there's not enough inventory. Yes, obviously interest rates are making, there are people who are rate sensitive. There are people right now who are sitting on the sidelines. But for the most part, we all know that Vancouver has one major issue. BC has one major issue, but especially Vancouver, and that is inventory. We just simply do not have enough. So when something does hit the market, for the most part, again, depending on your sub area and the product, but across the board, it is busy and things are selling relatively quickly. So something to sum it up quite briefly here, yes, the Vancouver real estate market is still relatively active. If you are a listing agent, a dominant listing agent, you are busier than the buyer's agent because sometimes buyer agents are just getting priced out or there's just not enough inventory to take their buyers to see. Now we'll tap into the values a little bit. Again, remember this is the benchmark price, so this isn't just in Vancouver alone. There are areas that are less affordable, more affordable, so on and so forth. But we'll jump into the values very briefly, then I'll carry on. So for a detached house right now in the Vancouver area, benchmark price is just under $2 million at $1.991 million, followed by the townhouses, and those are just under $1.1 million. And then with the condos, again, benchmark price here is just over $750,000. So you can see that there are, the values are remaining strong in comparison to other areas, other pockets of Canada, BC, etc. Vancouver obviously holds the most value and has the most expensive real estate because of the opportunities and the lifestyle here. And, we haven't seen the values affected tremendously, even with the interest rate hikes. I think that the biggest thing that we did see was the activity on the listings went down, and yes, values were affected, but there was a restored buyer confidence in the market when we had that rate hold. And even with the recent rate hike in June, we are still seeing active people, and part of that is because they're going to try to lock in on their rate hold. Some people aren't rate sensitive, some are, but some are right now hustling and bustling to get ahead of the curve. They might have a rate hold that expires at the end of August, so they want to make sure they have a firm contract and close before that so they can honor that. While others, they're seeing this as an opportunity to capitalize on these values that have seen a slight dip, nothing major, but a slight dip, and there are pockets that allow for great appreciation. I'll get into that briefly down the road when we see rates decrease. Now, since this video is about values and if the Vancouver real estate market home prices are falling, I will briefly touch on some of the constraints that first-time buyers are facing. Number one, clearly affordability. It is tough to get into the market in a general. We have inventory issues and also affordability issues. That being said, as I mentioned before, there are sub areas that are more affordable, but that would be one of the most common themes I'm seeing with first-time home buyers. And the second would be getting the down payment and qualifying. Some people just simply can't gather the down payment when it comes to buying Vancouver real estate because the cost of living here is already astronomically high. So after your living costs, there's not much to store away at the end of the day to help with the down payment. A lot of people, they are relying on generational wealth passed down from their parents, grandparents, etc. So that is one of the key or some of the key issues I do see when it comes to the affordability aspect, especially for first-time home buyers. As far as it Is it a good time to buy? In my opinion, there are certain pockets that do present a great opportunity. Yaletown, for one, is one of the ones that are on my radar for my investors and my buyers. We are seeing condos sell around 2017 prices. Rents are at an all-time high in that area. So if you're an investor, definitely a good pocket to focus on. And even if you're just a first-time buyer, I see great appreciation in the Yaletown, the downtown core of Vancouver, in the next 2 to 3 years once rates come down. Because as we know, when rates come down and those who are rate sensitive or just simply can't qualify, more people jump into the market. We already have an inventory issue, as we all know. So you combine those two things and we are going to see values most likely skyrocket. So if you can run the numbers right now on a 3-year rate hold and you can afford something in those areas, and there's other areas that you can reach out to me and we can discuss, but I do feel it is a good time to buy if it fits your agenda and you can afford it. And as far as the selling aspect go, I'll keep this quick, but take a snapshot of what your situation looks like. How much equity are you playing with? What are you doing? Are you moving up? Are you moving down? Are you staying in the city? Are you going closer to the valley? All these things, there are variables that will help make your decision. But if you are sitting on good equity, I do feel there are slight and smaller gaps between certain products of detached and attached, or townhouses to condos, vice versa, that present an opportunity that may have not been there in years previous. So maybe you should explore those if those were on your list of items to check off this year. So the question again is, where do prices go? Are they going to fall? Now, that's going to depend heavily on the next rate announcement in September, in my opinion. Right now we are seeing again activity. The inventory isn't where it needs to be. Therefore, we're seeing very busy open houses, but I still feel values are still staying aligned for the most part in each pocket. We're not seeing anything going over drastically market value. Obviously, we will see situations when things go way over listing price, but again, there's a difference between listing price and market value. From what I'm seeing on the sidelines, most stuff is in line with market value. There are some exceptions, hotter pockets. We are seeing people overpay slightly, but for the most part, I'm not seeing people overpay like I did in previous years. Most stuff is landing at market value, and I predict that to be the next couple of months here until we roll into September. And again, that September announcement is really going to dictate the fall market and where prices head, in my opinion. If they do another rate increase, I do feel we will see a slight decrease in values, because that's going to really hurt people on the approval process. They might not be able to afford what they could have at the beginning of the year or the mid-year, so that might take them out of the market for the foreseeable future. On the flip side of things, you may see people in variable rates that got approved last year or the year before that, and they're sitting on a variable, and now their monthly payments are becoming too much for them to handle. They might have to be forced to sell, and you might see a few fire sales. I hope we don't get there. I'm very confident that they will hold the rates. I don't see any reason why they would with the latest news about inflation. But you never know. They have thrown us curveballs before. But to wrap things up, I do not think the values will be drastically affected. And the reason for that is just Vancouver is a high desirable city that people want to live in, people want to move in. So once the values become way too low, people who are smart, have their pulse in the market, recognize this, and they jump back in the market, and then we see an increase in values again. So I wouldn't anticipate, even with a rate hike announcement, that values will decline drastically. They're not going to be untouched. They could go down, but I wouldn't anticipate a major decrease in values when it comes to Vancouver real estate, just based off demand and lack of inventory. So that is my 2 cents on the Vancouver home prices, and if they are falling, yes, we might see a slight adjustment, but overall, I would not anticipate a bubble or a major crash, just based on the variable factors that I've already touched on. If you are thinking of buying or selling and want to have a consultation, please reach out. It costs you nothing. I'd love to talk real estate, inform you as much as I can, so you can make an educated decision on whether right now is the good time for you to buy, sell, invest, whatever the situation you might be in. Again, Dave Mason with the Dave Mason Real Estate Group and Angle Invokers. I do appreciate you taking time to watch this video. Stay safe and take care.